शाम के भोजन का समय था, यानी पतली, पानी जैसी दलिया का एक छोटा सा हिस्सा। हर लड़का अपने मिट्टी के कटोरे को ऐसे देखता था जैसे वो सोने का कटोरा हो। कुछ ही पलों में दलिया गायब हो जाती। भूख की पीड़ा इतनी बढ़ गई कि सबसे बड़े लड़के ने फुसफुसाकर एक गुप्त योजना बनाई। हम में से किसी एक को और भोजन मांगना होगा, उसने कहा। लेकिन कौन? सबकी आंखें छोटे मासूम तारक पर टिकीं। नियति ने पर्ची के जरिए तारक को चुना। जैसे ही भोजनपाल मास्टर ने अंतिम कटोरा समेटा, डरे हुए लड़कों ने तारक को धीरे से आगे धकेला। तारक लड़खड़ाता हुआ डर और भयानक भूख के कारण उस विशालकाय मास्टर की ओर बढ़ने लगा। तारक भोजनपाल के सामने खड़ा हुआ। मास्टर स्वस्थ, मोटा और भोजन से भरपूर दिखता था, एक ऐसा विरोधाभास जिसे तारक अपनी आंखों से देख सकता था। अपने छोटे हाथ में कटोरा पकड़कर उसने अपनी पूरी हिम्मत बटोरी। उसकी आवाज़ एक फुसफुसाहट से ज्यादा नहीं थी, पर उस शांत हॉल में वो एक बम की तरह गूंजी। तारक ने कहा, कृपया श्रीमान, मुझे और चाहिए। भोजनपाल सदमे से जम गया। उस अनाथालय के इतिहास में किसी ने इतनी हिम्मत नहीं की थी। क्रोधित भोजनपाल चिल्लाया, तुमने और भोजन मांगा? इस अनाथालय में इतनी हिम्मत किसी की नहीं हुई। वो चिल्लाता हुआ भागा, नियामक बाबू को बुलाओ। ये लड़का विद्रोही है। कुछ ही देर में नियामक बाबू, जो कि एक फूला हुआ और घमंडी अधिकारी था, पहुंच गया। नियामक बाबू ने तारक की ओर देखकर घोषणा की, ये लड़का, ये एक पाप है। यह विद्रोह है। इसका अंत बुरा होगा। भोजनपाल ने तारक को हाथ से पकड़ा और घसीटते हुए उसे एक अंधेरी एकांत कोठरी में बंद कर दिया, जहां केवल सन्नाटा और ठंड थी। तुरंत एक आपातकालीन बोर्ड बैठक बुलाई गई। बोर्ड के मोटे आरामदायक सदस्यों ने निर्णय लिया, तारक, जिसने इतना बड़ा संकट खड़ा किया था, उसे 5 पाउंड के बदले किसी को भी प्रशिक्षु अप्रेंटिस के रूप में बेच दिया जाएगा। बाहर कार्यशाला में अन्य लड़के भय से कांप रहे थे। उन्होंने देखा कि तारक के साथ क्या हुआ। वे जानते थे कि उनकी भूख अब चुपचाप बर्दाश्त करनी पड़ेगी। अब कोई भी और भोजन कहने की हिम्मत नहीं करेगा। नियामक बाबू ने विजयी होकर भविष्यवाणी की, इस लड़के ने जो अपराध किया है वो इसे जीवन भर अपराधी ही बनाए रखेगा। यह दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, पर यह बच्चा अब बुरे रास्ते पर चलने के लिए अभिशप्त है। अंधेरी कोठरी में तारक अकेला रो रहा था। उसने केवल भूख शांत करने के लिए पूछा था, लेकिन अब वो अनाथालय से बाहर फेंक दिया गया था। उसकी साधारण सी विनती ने उसे एक बहिष्कृत आउटकास्ट बना दिया था, और अब वो एक कठोर अज्ञात यात्रा के लिए तैयार था।
The workhouse was a place built of gray stone and thinner air. Inside, 100 small, skinny boys shivered on benches. They didn't just feel cold, they felt hollow. A fierce, gnawing hunger lived in their stomachs, demanding what the workhouse refused to give. At supper, a large copper cauldron was opened. It held a watery soup called gruel, thin as ghosts and tasting of nothing. Each boy was given one small portion in a tin bowl, just a single ladleful, which disappeared almost before it settled in their stomachs. The boys did not eat their gruel, they vaporized it. Then came the scraping. The noise was like 100 tiny metal claws, trying to escape metal cages, as spoons dug desperately at the bottoms of the bowls, shining the tin until it gleamed like silver. When the scraping stopped, the hunger remained. It grew sharper, turning into desperation. Stark, the biggest boy there, whispered to the others, "We can't go on like this. Someone must ask the master for more. We must." But who would ask? To ask for more was unheard of. It was dangerous. Stark's eyes fell upon Oliver. He was the smallest, the most fearful, and perhaps because of his size, the most desperately hungry of all. He would be the sacrifice. They needed proof, an excuse for the selection, so they drew lots. Each piece of cloth was the same, but the short one meant facing the furious master, Septimus. Trembling, Oliver reached into the cap and pulled out the short straw. Septimus, the master, stood sentinel by the great copper, ready to close the lid on the feast of water. A terrifying silence fell. Then a shiver went through the line of boys, and Oliver felt a silent, firm push from the boy behind him, forcing him forward. Oliver walked. It was not a purposeful walk, but a slow, shuffling drift across the vast, echoing stone floor. Every step was heavier than the last, fueled by the terrible weight of his own need and the starving hopes of the boys watching behind him. He stopped right at the foot of the master, Septimus. Septimus was vast, with smooth, comfortable cheeks and a waistcoat stretched taut over his healthy girth. Oliver looked up at the man who was so full, while he was so painfully empty. Oliver held out his empty bowl, the last remnants of courage shivering in his small voice. He spoke words that had never been spoken in that workhouse before, words that changed everything. "Please, sir," he whispered, "I want some more." Septimus the master froze. His spoon stopped mid-air. His face, usually so assured, went utterly slack. "More?" The word echoed silently through the hall. It was not a request. It was mutiny. It was unbelievable insolence. Then the shock gave way to a blinding rage. Septimus raised the heavy metal ladle he used to serve the gruel and brought it down hard, right onto the top of Oliver's head. The clang echoed through the silent dining hall. "Call Mr. Ambrose Bumble," roared the master, panting with fury. Septimus shoved Oliver aside and stormed out of the hall, ready to inform the beadle, the official voice of the rules, of this catastrophic breach of order. Mr. Ambrose Bumble, the beadle, listened, his three-cornered hat quivering with indignation. "Asking for more?" Bumble thundered. "This boy is a villain, a dangerous, rebellious spirit who will surely come to a bad end on the gallows." Before the soup even cooled, Oliver was seized and dragged roughly through passages and up stone stairs. The punishment for daring to be hungry was immediate. He was thrown into a dark, cold, solitary cell, and the heavy wooden door was bolted shut. The crisis of the extra gruel was deemed so serious that the workhouse board had to be convened. The board members, all portly gentlemen, gathered in the bright, comfortable meeting room to discuss the unprecedented terror. After much deliberation, one gentleman declared the sentence. Oliver was now a problem that must be solved. £5, he decreed. "We will offer £5 to anyone who will take the criminal Oliver Twist as an apprentice." Back in the dining hall, the remaining boys sat silent, pale with fear. They had seen what happened to the boy who spoke up. Their hunger was still there, but now it was laced with terror. They knew the empty gruel bowls were permanent. The gentlemen shook their heads gravely. "Mark my words," one said to the others, sipping his wine. "That boy is wicked to the core. He is destined for a life of villainy. A boy who asks for more will end badly." Meanwhile, in the dark cell, Oliver wept, not just from the pain of the blow, but from the cold realization. A simple request for food had been twisted into a crime. He was alone, outcast, and doomed, and his journey into the harsh world had just begun.